10 floor. Everyone get out.
Hello tanks and tankettes, welcome back to Armoured Warfare, and today I'm going to play a tank I've literally never played before, the T-62. Now I had it unlocked on the Shishkin tree, and that's the tree I've played less. I've actually, on the other one, the Wolfie tree, I've been playing the Patton a bit, although I haven't really been enjoying it, to be honest. The gun's pretty good, the armour's okay, but the mobility compared to other vehicles is kind of killing it a bit for me. But it leads to the Leopard, it leads to some interesting vehicles, and I've actually already got the Swing Fire unlocked, which is on that tree. That thing is causing some interesting comments, shall we say. It's basically an armoured personnel carrier, except it fires rockets that kind of go up and come down on the top of the tank, and of course the top of the tank has very little armour, so it's a pretty effective weapon. Maybe a little bit too effective? I don't know. That's the purpose of these tests, is to find stuff like that out. Anyway, I'm going to go with something a bit more of a traditional tank. I'm going to go with a T-62A, not even T-62A, I'm just so used to saying T-62A from World of Tanks. The T-62, and hopefully I enjoy it more than the Patton, because the Patton is proving to be a real grind. And that's actually something I've not really been able to force myself to sit down and do, is actually just grind for hours and hours. Like, Circon's at a tier 6 or a tier 7 tank already, and there are other people like I've seen Des Games has done a video on more than one video on the tier 7s, and I'm still here on tier 3, but I just don't have the I would say patience there. I'm not having the level of enjoyment to sit down, and yes, it's an early test, so don't really read anything into that when I say that. You know, it's a different style of game, although it's very familiar in its mechanics, but also there's a lot of stuff that is as of yet kind of unfinished, that is going to be subject to change. So I'm really not, like, when I say stuff like that, I'm not really making a judgment about this game yet, because it's way too early. It's definitely way too early. So this is a couple of tier 4s, but mostly pretty good matchmaking. If you've got a higher tier vehicle at the moment, it's actually a bit like World of Warships. The tier 9, 8, 9s and 10s, like, there's not a lot of people playing them, so you get some interesting matchmaking. I mean, this, I said it in the previous 2 videos, I think, or at least the previous video, that this game is going to be +1, -1 matchmaking, but if you're in the matchmaking queue for too long, then it casts the net a lot wider. So the matchmaking that you get in this this limited access test is not necessarily going to be the same as the matchmaking when there are many thousands of people playing, tens of thousands even. Who knows where this will go. So apologies in advance for the frame rate derping out a bit at points. This is, again, I think I pointed this out last time, this is the lowest graphics settings. I can play on the ultra graphics settings, although it makes my graphics card fan go a little bit nuts, so I tend to play on high, which it looks alright. But in terms of recording, yeah, this is like, if I wasn't recording right now, I would have 90 to 100 frames a second, and it's kind of dipping between 40 and 60. So yeah, I think, and I speculated last time, I think that's probably to do with the fact that I have an AMD card, which is not their primary focus at the moment. They're primarily even focusing on NVIDIA cards, and also, of course, it's at a state where they're still squashing bugs and fixing balance issues. Stuff like optimization is a little bit further down the line. That's, oh, hello. Oh, shot at him. Oh, okay. Now, I've got no idea how effective stuff like side scraping is as a tactic in this game, but you know, all the tanks habits die hard, so I've got to try and pop out, and there's that gun depression. This is literally the first time I've played this. In fact, I don't even have this at World of Tanks. I don't have any high tier Russian anything outside of heavy tanks, of course. In fact, I think heavy tanks are the only high tier Russians that I've got. I'm trying to think, what else have I got in? No, I've got. Oh, that's a Leopard. That was a slightly odd effect. It looks slightly odd, but bear in mind the lowest graphics settings. Yeah, no, I think the Russian heavies in World of Tanks are the only high tier Russians I've got. I don't have Did that pass through his tracks? Not sure. Anyway, I'm feeling slightly alone. Oh, this Patton's still here as well, of course. But what? Hello. So that did do damage, even at that angle. Although that might have been over-angling. I don't know. And obviously, I don't even know what kind of ammo it was that leopard was shooting at me. But that looked like penetrating AP. Yeah, those were penetrating AP shots. So that was quite a lot of damage. So much for trying to angle. Was this guy trying to come up behind me? I'll be cautious here. I've already lost most of my health. I will say, between the first and the second test, they seem to have. I'm not sure if they're experimenting with like how armor works, or I seem to be dying an awful lot quicker this time around. And Snooze basically said the same thing the other day on the stream, although with somewhat saltier language. But I'm finding I'm dying an awful lot quicker, and again, that limits how much I want to actually sit down and grind over and over if I'm just kind of like dying after a couple of minutes. So I'm wondering if they're experimenting with different penetration mechanics, or if they're changing numbers, tweaking numbers to see what happens, or I don't know. I honestly haven't been following patch notes and stuff like that. I know a lot of people, like veteran World of Tanks players, like people like Circle included, they're very, very excited by this game and excited about. Oh, see, now that was about the possibilities of switching over to playing this. I think that's basically what Circle's planning to do for the duration of the test, is pretty much play this. But I'm not. Based on what's here, I'm not thinking I'm just going to immediately abandon World of Tanks. But just because I'm not... I can't sit down and play this in the same length of time. I get that with other games as well. Like, World of Tanks is an unusual game for an online multiplayer game in that regard for me. I mean, even stuff I really like playing, like World of Warships, I can't really sit down and play more than 3 or 4 matches in a row, because, of course, the matches tend to be... longer matches. That's just the nature of World of Warships. There's stuff like Naval Action. I've not really played that at all recently. And again, the matches are really quite long in that. Was that... Why did I even hit it there? I don't know. It's hard to tell through a bush. So, yeah, the fact that Naval Action matches can be literally up to an hour in length. And if it's an hour, you know, it's a draw. But I have had games like that in Naval Action where... it is an hour-long draw, and that's... there's only so many hours I want to sit looking at a screen for a match that's going to prove to be a draw kind of thing. Right, I can't get some side shots. I'm a bit worried about the leopard. I want to get behind this guy. I've not died yet, so that's a good point. Has that guy died? I'm not sure. I do hope they... I have read they're not planning on officially doing like mod support, although, you know, modders being modders, they'll probably figure out ways to add mods anyway. But the let's fix the engine actually. There we go. And that's something of my reflexes for fixing things, modules and putting out fires and whatever. Definitely need to improve on this game because it's all slightly different for World of Tanks. But anyway, yeah. The last known position markers that you now get by default in World of Tanks, which took a hell of a long time for World of Tanks to add that as a default feature. Like, that would be very nice for this game. You get fading markers, so you partially get that information for a while, but then you don't. Like, it just kind of disappears. And I don't know why. I don't know why they've decided to do it that way. I mean, if they're going to give you that information, why not just have it be a kind of permanent faded marker on the thing instead of a marker that just fades out completely after a while? Because that then gives me the problem that I had with unmodded World of Tanks, in that I can't remember stuff like that. Like, I can't remember who was where doing what on the mini-map, and relying on my memory alone is a bad plan. So yeah, I hope they add that, or maybe the modders add that. So I really haven't well, I haven't died, but I haven't really acquitted myself particularly well on this one. But this doesn't feel massively fast compared to the Patton, to be honest. I've had some okay games in this early test. In fact, this is the second round of the test at this point, but I don't know, it's not firing my imagination, even though in principle I really like some of the stuff that they're doing. The reduced RNG spread, the changes to artillery, some of the way that the penetration mechanics are different. Like hitting a commander's hatch, for instance, isn't going to do full damage in the same way that it would in World of Tanks. Yeah, there's just a whole host of those kind of iterative changes I really like, and yet somehow as a whole the game does not yet grab my imagination. You know what? I'll give the Patton a go. I'm terrible in it. I don't particularly like it, but we'll give it a go, and then we'll wrap the video up. It probably won't be particularly good, but hey, you know, I always make this disclaimer when I'm playing World of Tanks live as well, that there's every chance it will be a terrible match. And sometimes it is. So, yes, unfortunately, I can't play with the consistency of... you know, I have my good days, I have my good moments, but this is much better matchmaking. I cannot play with the consistency of somebody like Foch or Circon. So, yeah, I mean, it's like that in, like, air quotes, traditional sports. Why did I even air quotes that? Just non-air quotes traditional sports, no air quotes necessary. That you'll get the very best players. Like, tennis is always my reference, because I know tennis a bit better than other sports. I'm not a sporty person for either watching or playing especially, but... somebody like Roger Federer, like, the reason they were so good is that they could do what they did on a really consistent basis. And then you'd have other players, and there was a Russian player in particular, I can't remember his name now. No, it's gone. But he could have real flashes of brilliance, like moments where he could challenge even the best players in the world, but he could never sustain it. He could never be consistent with it. He could never make that like his entire gameplay. And so, not that I'm saying that I'm up there with the best players of all tanks in the world, that'd be absolute nonsense, but that's a bit like most games for me, is I find it very hard to, especially online, anything, like, I play them very consistently well. Especially versus other players. Like, the one online game that I probably do very consistently well in is Payday 2, which I have put some videos up of, but that's a co-op game. You know, you're fighting against kind of waves of bots there, essentially. So, oh, I think I got spotted. The way the bots behave is very consistent, so you always know what you're going to be facing, whereas other players, people, are very inconsistent. Now, I'm getting shot by something and I can't see it, which is a little bit annoying. And that's got to have been a Lav 150 that was shooting me there. So, yeah, it might not be the Lav that was, well, whoever was spotting it with me that was actually shooting me. I don't normally play on this end of this map. And that's another thing why I think I'm struggling with this game particularly, is because World of Tanks, I've played a lot of battles, I know the maps. And it's always the case when a newer map comes in World of Tanks, well, I just kind of flail around a bit until I see what everyone else is doing and I figure out what works, what doesn't work. Whereas this, all the maps are new, and I have very little idea what I'm doing, and I'm not sitting down playing it for the same length of time I'm playing for World of Tanks. So, although it's fewer maps, although I'm seeing those fewer maps more often than I would in an average session of World of Tanks, I'm still kind of figuring out what the heck to do, as it were. Right, there we go, pull back. I'm slightly worried about getting shot from this area, but we have got things that will spot there, it looks like. I'm not quite sure why I came here, actually. This is all our light vehicles. Like, we have the numbers, and in theory I think we could press up, but I don't quite know what's angle. Right, there we go. It's mostly LAVs, although they do have a T-62 there as well, which I have to worry a bit less about. Oh. There we go. I have to say, actually, the frame rate for recording is holding up a lot better than it was with the first test. Like, I'm actually, I think the very first video I was able to use Bandicam, and then the second video I put up, I was experimenting with OBS, which I think I'm sticking with the Bandicam for recording games, honestly, for game footage. He's very close. I don't know how I'm not spotting him more consistently. But, yeah, this is once again with Bandicam, and we're running at On this map it's sort of averaging, what, 50 frames a second, which is pretty decent. You know, that's comparable to some maps with World of Tanks, but obviously with World of Tanks 50 FPS, that would be with higher graphics settings. So, yeah, I think they've been doing some optimization work and whatever, because this is definitely running more consistently than it was previously while I'm trying to record. But it's hard to say that it's super consistent. I think I missed that guy. So yeah, there's lots of things I like about this game, even if I'm not massively enjoying it. But the fact that there are those things about this game, like I did talk about this in the previous one. I think people misunderstood me because I was comparing War Thunder's planes to World of War planes, and people thought, a couple of people anyway, they weren't perhaps listening very carefully to what I was saying and thought I was saying, oh, War Thunder's a flop. No, I was saying World of Warplanes was a flop. And the fact that World of Warplanes was a flop was not a good thing for either game and either company, because it's that level of competition. Like the easiest analogy to make here is browsers and how bloated Internet Explorer got and how lazy Microsoft got with Internet Explorer. And then came along Firefox, and suddenly they were forced to up their game. And actually, oh, this was probably a bad line. They were forced to make a better browser, because suddenly they had real competition. And that's what I mean when I say competition is good. Because when you have, within a genre like this, when you've got several companies essentially competing for the same customer base, then that kind of bouncing back and forth, and like one company trying out one idea and maybe it's not super successful, but another company comes along, takes the idea and says, we can probably do something with this, we can refine it, we can make it work a bit better. Like that kind of thing, that's good for the consumer, because the consumer reaps the benefits of that. So this is why, even if I'm not sounding super positive about this game, I still want it to do well, because I want there to be that competition for World of Tanks. And I want World of Wargaming to sit down and say, well, actually, maybe we could try doing this a bit better. Maybe people really do want to see less RNG or reworked artillery mechanics or whatever. So at the end of the day, it's a good thing, and I'm not saying War Thunder's a flop. I mean, it's niche, but it's definitely not a flop. Although Gaijin, like you may have, oh hello, you're a sneaky little fellow. You may have seen, yeah, Gaijin were being distinctly anti-consumer. Some of the, because you can play War Thunder through Steam, some of the stuff, that the packs that you could buy through Steam for War Thunder, what they did was they jacked up the price immediately before the Steam Summer Sale, and then they slapped a discount sticker on it and said, hey look, you can buy this stuff on discount, even though you really weren't saving any money, because what they'd done is just ramp up the price prior to the sale, which is actually, I think in some countries, like there are consumer laws against exactly that sort of thing. So yeah, Gaijin have quite rightly been called out on that, and that's a pretty scuzzy bit of behaviour, and it honestly, it kind of doesn't tremendously surprise me. Right, they seem to be increasingly trying to wring money out of War Thunder in ways that hurt their consumer base, basically. And the thing about games like this, it's free-to-play games, is the best way, the very best way to actually make people spend money on your game is to make the game fun to play, to make it enjoyable. And you kind of, like, that kind of business practice, you're kind of going the opposite way, to be honest. And Gaijin do definitely seem to be, I hesitate to use words like a downward spiral, but it is a bad sign specifically that Gaijin's doing stuff like that. It's not good for people that enjoy playing War Thunder, and there are still plenty of people that do enjoy playing War Thunder. So there we go, we actually won. I actually felt like I did a bit in that one, but I was probably concentrating more on blathering than I was actually playing. But yeah, that was actually a reasonably close match. It wasn't too one-sided at all. So yeah, that's the Patton, and it's hard to say I'm massively enjoying it. I've yet to have a single vehicle where I really enjoyed this. Apart from maybe the LAF 150, I really liked the LAV 150. I haven't actually kept it, but there was something about it. Maybe it was the fact that it was a wheeled vehicle. I mean, there was that novelty factor. There's another thing this game does that not War Thunder, World of Tanks doesn't do, is fully wheeled vehicles. So yeah, that's another interesting difference, another interesting element that this game does that the other one can't. So yeah, there we go. A bit of live Armoured Warfare footage. The second test, like they've tweaked and changed some things. It's coming along nicely. There's a lot of polish that's still to be applied, but I have no doubt will be applied. Obsidian is a veteran of the games business, although this is a new venture for them. So yeah, it's interesting. There are potential pitfalls they could fall into, but I'm sure they've done their homework. You know, it's not that hard to look around and see what other companies are doing and see what other pitfalls other companies have fallen into. Like, for instance, Gaijin. So, yeah, I have high hopes for this. Even if I don't play it anything like I play World of Tanks, just the fact that it's there and the fact that it's good and the fact that other people are enjoying it is a good thing for this specific tank game genre as a whole. Not that it's, you know, there's many games within that genre, but you know, it's a good thing. So if you enjoyed this video, you can leave any comments below. You can hopefully not misconstruing things I've said about War Thunder. You can hit the like button, you can hit the subscribe button, and as always, stay tuned for more.